Atamari, good morning. To formally open our council meeting, I will give our council prayer in Te Reo in English. Tēnei tātou. Tuku mātou kia kaha mai ngā māngai kua whiriwhiri hia mō te kaunihira o Tiko Tika ki te mahi me te ngākau apaha, me te hakamahi i ngā pūkenga me te mātauranga i roto i ngā wānanga me ngā hakataunga, te haka tūrea i te tahi hapuri e matatika ana, e tūkotahi ana kamutu, ka hakapiki anō i te oranga o tō tātou rohe, ka hakatau anō i ngā take o te rohe i runga i te tika me te pono. We ask that through council discussions and decisions, the representatives we have elected may govern the Far North District with imagination, skill and wisdom to achieve a fairer and more united community that enhances the well-being of our district and solves the district's problems efficiently and effectively. Amen. I just would like to welcome those who are in chambers in person today. I believe we've got Nick and Julie Dupain, who will be giving a deputation regarding flooding at the Pukepoto Road Bridge in Okaiho. Welcome to you and your supporters. I can also see our former MD here, kia ora, it's been a while, mate. Also would like to welcome David Senior, Chairperson of our Disability Action Group, soon to be named our Accessibility Action Group, I believe. Who will be speaking to us regarding their item 6.1. Just by way of a few quick mayoral announcements, a reminder to all that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the Far North District Council's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Our maramataka Māori today is Tamatea Kairiki, a little bit of crazy weather and a little bit of crazy ideas, so we'll see how we get through this doorstopper here today. I also just want to acknowledge the passing of Te Pāti Māori MP for Tāmaki Makaurau Taku Taiki, who passed away on the 26th of June. And I also would like to acknowledge the passing of Papa Hugh Rihari, who was on our Te Pātukurea Hapūropu working group. E te atua hoatu ki a rāo te oki o ki ngā tonutanga, kia whiti ki a rāo te māramatanga mutunga kore. May perpetual light shine upon them, O Lord, and turn a rest grant upon them, O Lord, and may perpetual light shine upon them always. Amen. Back to us, the living. This morning we had a visit from Northland Rugby, who have been touring all of Te Tai Tokerau with the match balls for this weekend's game. We've got the Black Ferns versus the Black Ferns 15, and also the Māori All Blacks versus Scotland in Whangarei. I believe they've already sold about 10,000 tickets for the game, so that should be a really good one to watch either on, I think it's being live streamed for free on Māori TV, or of course you can head down to our city and watch the game yourselves. It was very exciting to take the match balls around to all of our staff, although I think the running joke now is that staff were touching the mayor's balls this morning, so I don't know about that one. Also a reminder that nominations for this year's local government election open on Friday. Is that tomorrow? That's tomorrow. Nomination forms will be available and can be lodged from Friday the 4th of July, and forms can be lodged online or in person across our 8 service centres. Another reminder that the Battle of Ohio commemorations are on this weekend, Sunday the 7th of June, 9 a.m. at St. Michael's Church in Ohio, followed by a kaihakari at Ngā Whā School. We'll also just a reminder and an invitation to all deputation or speakers from staff as well. If you could please speak loud and clear for recording purposes, and we do have the podium there if you'd like to use that. Otherwise, I always say just whatever makes you comfortable. If where you're sitting is what makes you comfortable to give your deputation to us, that's fine as well. And I've also got a reminder to elected members not to shuffle papers too much and to speak loud and clear for recording purposes. Thank you very much. With that, we will get into our deputations, and so I would like to invite Nick and Julie Dupain to give their deputation regarding flooding at the Pukepoto Road Bridge in Okaiho.
Right, I'll stay sitting if that's all right. Fine. Try not to be a bit. We here, just to make you guys understand, I don't hear of flooding, but the amount of flooding that's high now. Now, I was surprised when I looked up the RFS numbers not to see as many of them down, because everybody's told me that they've been hammering the council about this since 2016. In fact, in 2021, there were reported over 30 times the road flooded, and it's not necessarily for one day. even at this time, we nearly didn't come in today because the road is already flooding as we speak with the little rain that we've had. It rises 1.8 metres from the bridge. And we have got a photo up there, as you can see. One of our guests leaving the lodge didn't realise how deep the water was and actually drove in and was sitting in the water up to his chest in the car as it was rising. We called 111, no one turned up, so we took it in our own lives, went into the water, got his window open and had to drag this 83-year-old man out of the car, and that evening it was 1.8 metres high, he would have died. So there is a real urgency to do something here. We've had a lot of vehicles that have had damage, a lot of desperate parents and people that get home from work can't get home, so they walk through it, and we're not talking a shallow flood, and of course we've got currents going through that river. You know, you imagine taking your little kid to school, going to flip in the evening, find you can't go and pick up your child, and you might not be able to get them for 2 days. It's been flooded for up to 4 days. And you've got to find elsewhere another accommodation for your children. We've got workers that, you know, you work out of the street, you can't get home from work, you can't get to work. We've had one school teacher that lost her job in 2021. She could only get to work 1 term out of 3 terms due to the flooding. So there's a real cause for having to have something done. We're beyond the pleasing and can you help us. It's now you have to do something with the amount of times it floods and the depth of it and the loss of income. We have dairy farmers, we have 2 dairy farmers on our side of the bridge. They have had, and we've got evidence of, milking, they're having to drain their milk tank, all their milk out because the milk tankers cannot get into them. You know, if you've got health issues, we've had parents with child with a burst eardrum, couldn't get medical help for them. It's just, last night it didn't rain that much, and it only takes 1 day, 1 evening of rain, and we're stuck. So we're really here. I don't need to see my emails that we've sent through, and also the condition of the road. An average car can't even, after flooding, get across the road because all the gravel's washed away either side of the bridge. You can see the thick mud on the bridge. It's already got a four-wheel drive, but we don't have four-wheel drives. And now we've got the bed and breakfast. We're suffering loss of income. We've got guests that we've had to email this morning say you can't come in because we know the road's going to be flooded tonight. Only one way in, one way out. And we really just have to get something done. I know it's not in the budget, but neither is our rates because we've lost income. But unfortunately, the law says we have to pay. Same as you guys, obviously there is a legal criteria we need to meet, responsibilities to help us get this sorted. It can't wait 20 years. It's just getting worse every year. So that's about all I have to say. We have got records of all these floods. We're still gathering them up. But how many times, Keith, did we have? 90 times in 3 years?
Since October 2021.
90.
I've recorded 90 times the bridge been closed.
And that's just one of us. We're still gathering up the rest of the dates. I had found out too, a lot of our complaints have gone through that, researched that and got all the numbers by tire. It's clearly, obviously, that we can sort it out because I don't think the Cook tire floods like our road. And when I look at all their figures, I've realised that most of those are for our Pukekohe road. Because unless you say Kaihau, everything goes direct to Kaitaia. Same as when I try to get a name number for our cattle, it automatically diverts to the Kaitaia address.
It's only small.
Yeah, it's only a small bridge. We have a copy here that we can give you that Roy has printed out. Yeah, of how big the bridge is and how many metres it floods, 30 metres either side of the bridge, and we measured the depth of how high it floods, which we have copies that we can leave with you of that.
In copies of the
and we have got, you know, the copies of the Times of Spider, which I can email through later.
Are you happy to take some questions?
Yes.
My question is, what has been council's operational formal response to all of these requests that you've put through? If there has been one, and please do be candid.
Say a bit of a joke. All the other requests, a lot of them just nothing happens. I've seen emails recently, and I sent them to Edward. I didn't find out Edward had left till an accidental phone call last week. His response was, it's got nothing to do with the fund, just for council, it all depends on the regional council, and was very blunt and short by that. I got another email saying it's for new danger signs put in place. Well, there's one big orange sign on one side of the bridge that says flooding, which is put up after it floods and left up for days. That's just a joke. People can see it's flooded, but they don't know how deep it is. And it's deceiving. It's the Pōto Road dips down. So when you look at the flood, you think it's a straight road because the flood level comes up level with the banks on either side. So people think, oh, it's probably only deep. We can do this. And next minute they're stuck. We've had tractors stuck on there thinking we can go through. Tractor stuck. But also the other thing is cattle trucks. We have cattle farms. They have the cattle sale on, a day of the week, and it doesn't happen every day. Can't get the cattle truck in to sell their cattle. Another huge loss of income. And I know we are in our rights to take the council to court. We don't want to, but we have got the legal right to do so. We've also been working with William Hodge, who happened to be the gentleman who was our professor of law staying with us, is prepared to work on this with us. But at the end of the day, we just want help and we need it. It's not an asking, it's now it's telling you guys you have to do something.
So immediately, we obviously need to do something. But an immediate thing we need to do for the safety of those who use that road is have correct signage to indicate that is impassable when it does flood.
Yes, we make measurements. Short term. I have got a meeting, finally somebody phoned me last week after getting all these emails. I don't know how many emails I've sent in, but I haven't really had correct answers. The other concern I did have was the limit of the bridge. Now, there is no weight limit actually recorded for Pōto Bridge, so they seem deemed to be okay for any weight. I don't know if you've researched the weight of all cattle trucks and milk tankers, but they are a lot heavier than
46 tonnes for a milk tank.
And I believe the amount of flooding over that bridge too, and I also believe eventually that bridge is just going to go. It might look sound now, they do say that they've done work on the bridge. I gather every year somebody goes to have a look. I don't know how well they look at it. The first bridge was actually built in the 1930s. There's no record of a new bridge going in since the 1930s. So to me, and it was always flooding. We've had people like the King family and Matt Graff on this property, and when the bridge was there, it's always flooded, but obviously over time it's flooding on. Yes, please, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks, mate. Hey, I just think initially a more robust marker with the measurements, it could see 1 metre, 2 metre, whatever, because the ones that are there are just retarded and they get swept away with the flood. I don't think that Guy Hodges would have driven through there if there'd been a metre marker that said you could see where it was at. That would be an initial thing just to stop people driving in it and make it safe in that respect. And then from there, it's only a short little bridge. It's only 5 metres long. It's only a baby bridge, but it's just a metre or two above the water level when it's not even flooding. So it's just not fit for purpose.
I'll go to Deputy Mayor Stratford.
Kia ora. I can't get past the fact that you've got that new lodge. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
But I
have it we can't get anybody in, so it's
yes, yeah, totally understand. What I'm hearing is very familiar, from some of the other communities that I've worked in, Kyle and Moirua. Would you be open to setting up your own flood mitigation committee and inviting NRC and FNDC staff to come along on a monthly basis till you've got some goals set in, like short term, medium, long term? I know Moirua took about 10 years before their bridge was upgraded and a spillway put in.
That's not good enough now, and that's still neglect.
And Kyle are still waiting after 20 years for all their mitigation.
We're not here for those bridges. We're here for
But short and medium term solutions have been put in place. Are you open to considering that there are steps like what Matt suggested, the bar showing?
Yes,
initially?
of course, anything that's going to help, but something, we can't wait 10 years for a new bridge. Okay, we're going to go bankrupt. Other people working there. You can't get to work, you can't get home from work. It's not good enough. And the amount of time to flood, Ohio doesn't flood 30 times a year. Okay, those other bridges don't flood 30 times a year. This is 30 times a year. It's flooded now. We can't go home now.
I think it's really important that NRC play a role in this because we take their lead when it comes to flood mitigation. They do all the LiDAR studies, you know, which indicate where
We
it
have
is.
been in touch with the regional council, though. We've been speaking to Charles from the regional council, and he has been out and inspected it twice. They are happy to do some river works. They can only do so much, and they can only do that in the summer.
And we need to work in with them.
Yes, but I'm hoping the regional council will work with you guys to get some plan, but waiting 10 years to start on doing a new bridge isn't going to work.
Yeah, it's just using that as an example because that's how long it does take.
No, if my perspective to your concern, I understand where you're coming from. I live there, I provided the records of the 90 floods, including this morning.
Yes.
There is nothing you can do to mitigate it. That's it. It's only, the water's this high a lot of the time and 2.5 metres higher than that some of the time. I joke and say when a cow urinates on the hill, we get a flood. And it's tongue in cheek, but it actually sums up the situation. A lot of us have just got used to it. I'm semi-retired. I need to work 2 or 3 days a week. I arrange my work schedule around the bridge. When I can't turn up, people think I'm joking. I've got to take a photograph and send it. I cannot get out today. It only has to be that deep and I can't get out today. It only has to look like it's going to flood and I can't leave because I may not get back in. I've been stuck on the wrong side of the flood twice and had to drive into Kerikeri, minutes away. After having driven home from Kerikeri, drive back to find accommodation. So this, you can cut a few trees down, you can clear the sides of the bank, you're going to make no appreciable difference to the situation. It's that, and I think it's because everyone's been quiet that we've reached this point.
So do you see a bridge as the only solution?
It's the only solution.
We know it is. But yes.
The thing about this bridge is like, I don't know, clearing of the banks and trees is going to make any difference at all because of sheer volume of water. It's just the bridge is too low for the floodplain. And I look at it and it's only a tiny bridge. It's not a big bridge like I know Moira, the great bridge they built. It was lovely. It was a major access road. This to me is not a major job. Like we could bridge it. I've got a 20-ton digger and I'm willing to donate my time and my digger to help. It's one of those, in my mind, the span of it is we could get some of this prefabricated concrete and then lift it 2 metres from the current level and then build it up with rock, big base rock and metal for the 15 metres each side. And we would be done. That would solve our problem, and I'll be down here with my digger helping. It's not a big job. It's not a big job to do. That's my feeling. We could resolve this, but there used to be 3 families on the street. Now there's 10, including a woman with giving birth, and she had a problem with her baby. And they said they had to get her out of there before she gave birth. And she came back in and she got freaked out that there was problems with the baby and she couldn't get it out. So there's a lot of reasons.
There's actually 19 people that actually live on the north side. Not only that, obviously contractors coming into our hospital too. We can't get the money because it's scheduled.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Vucic.
Actually, I'll be real quick because what I'll do is I'm going to get on to is a huge floodplain. I know that area quite well, huge floodplain, and there's no way you can do anything about the amount of water there. So the solution was a bridge. But I would suggest, bridge, a portion of the bridge and box culverts, because you don't want to restrict that flow of water either. And forestry do it every day of the week. It's actually not a big cost and not a big job. So I agree with you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming to us and giving this deputation, and appreciate the ongoing struggle that you have to live with.
That last email I sent to, which was sent to Edward, is also regional council, which we have copies of, which I think you were sent, which I will leave here, because that explains a bit more detail. And I know there is funding with the New Zealand government. I know what it's rather than 10 years, things to be done in 3 years now. So please take all that into consideration. And like I say, if we have to take this further, we don't want to.
Thank you for that. Appreciate your time today, and also appreciate that we have a yellow heavy rain watch. So please don't feel like you have to stick around for our meeting if you need to get home before it floods. Yeah. And someone will be back in touch, especially around some of those more immediate things, like the fact that we could just get one of those indicators like we've got on the Kyle River that shows levels. So we'll be back in touch. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can we leave these copies here now?
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
Our next deputation is from David Senior, Chairperson of our Disability Action Group, who will be speaking to item 6.1. We'll wait for our Pukepoto Road whānau to leave, and now the way is clear. Kia ora, David. Lovely to have you in here in chambers with us today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, hi everybody. Look, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to come in and just share on this issue. And I'm happy to take questions or any comments. Just on history, you'll notice that the Disability Action Group has been going in one form or another since 08, 09 sort of thing, under Wayne Brown in those days. So it's continued over the years, and we've seen a real change within council, both then and now, of the whole attitude around people with disabilities and impairments. This is about, we want to refresh our group, and we want to change the name from Disability Action Group to Accessibility Action Group. So instead of saying DAG, say AG instead. But at the end of the day, it's around accessibility. Most of our issues, one way or the other, end up around the whole subject of accessibility. And we want to include a lot more older people involved in our group and really talk about accessibility, because accessibility to me means safe pedestrian access in the physical sense, okay? But of course, accessibility is more than just the physical action. It's about being able to, read your documents, listen to you get the right information when we need it from council. I suggested to our lady the other day, well, what about council? I don't expect you to put things in Braille, okay? I don't expect that. But what about putting some of your key documents on a CD, a burnable CD, and then send them out to people that they can use it and listen to it orally anytime they want, rather than going down the tracks to try and find out from someone what each document says and so forth. But at the end of the day, accessibility affects all of us one way or the other. And like I say, to me, it's about safe pedestrian access. And safe pedestrian access means you feel comfortable and you know that you're not going to have major issues that of being able to get to one place or another. That's really all I want to say about it, really, but I'm happy to take any sort of questions. But accessibility is certainly the catch cry today, and we need to make our towns and our buildings as accessible as possible out there. Yeah.
Thank you, David. I noted in the new updated terms of reference for the Accessibility Action Group that the membership will be comprised of, and within the new tools, we've got 2 appointees from council, a general and a multi-ward councillor,
Yes.
as well as an appointee from each of our 3 community boards. What's the current appointment from council?
I think currently it's basically yeah, it should be a rep from each community board and it's one councillor really. But I mean, we want to, you know, have two. So from our Maori representations too. And like I say, we want to also refresh it with a number of older people involved with accessibility issues and so forth. Because a lot of the issues are around the same. And they could be anything from minor stuff to quite major stuff, like, you know, like you can have anything from broken footpaths right through to foliage overhanging your footpaths so you can't get through safely and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really about those sort of things, and that's why we ask for reps from the zone so they can actually hear what we're saying and in real terms take it back and consider it in their own agendas and their own way of looking at stuff. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing. But no, that's the reason why we have reps, and I appreciate it. It really does help.
Thank you for that. I think Councillor Vesich has a question for you.
Hey, Dave, I do have a question. Good to see you again. You made a suggestion of getting information out there. What about, and I know these are being recorded, what about our website? There's I think there's international standard for website access for websites. So if we put the information on our website and make sure we adhere to that international standard, would that actually be a good service?
It would certainly help a lot of people, John, but not everybody can do that, particularly some of our older people and stuff like that. And I know for me, my grandkids use tech better than I do. Okay, I have to ask my 9-year-old granddaughter. But no, for me, something like an audible burnable CD that has you know, a policy on or whatever. So I don't have to sort of chase people around to find out exactly what it says here. I can just read it at my own leisure any time to see that you know, what it actually says. And that's only one suggestion. There's many other ones. Obviously, you do stuff in large print for people with poor sight, I would assume, and doing stuff in plain English so people can understand what you're talking about. There's all sorts of ways of doing it. That was just one suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Bay of Islands Whangaroa Community Board Chair Ward with a question.
Yes.
David, I'm over here.
Yep.
In the last workshop we had, we discussed footpaths and accessibility.
Yes.
And alfresco dining came up. We
Yes.
actually addressed that 30th of June is the cut-off date, the beginning of the new financial year for the renewal of alfresco dining licences. And
Yes.
I did my preview the other day, and I'm aware we've got some coming up next week in our meeting, and also probably the following month for those that didn't make the deadline. I know Member Eyre sits on the
Yep.
group with you. Have you fed? Do you know what licences are coming up for renewal and given them some comment? Because it would be really helpful for us and the feedback.
No, but again, that information, that information is not fed to us. We would be interested in giving comments to it, but I guess this involves a broader picture thing, and I believe a letter's been sent to the CEO about this. We need to have a staff member that can access all the stuff that we think we need and work with us around, so we understand what the issues are and so forth. And it's very, very difficult when you try and ring in and get information, because you get passed around all over the place, or a message will be passed on and people don't ring you and so forth. But if we can actually have a staff member that we can contact anytime we want to access those sort of issues, and then come and read them to us, and we can make comments on that sort of stuff. But certainly the whole question of people out on the footpaths, that sort of thing is really important, because I know I did an exercise last year, and just getting past some of these things are quite challenging, because you know, you need a straight line, and often you've got to curve around corners and all sorts of things. So unless you can actually see what you're doing, it's not a straight line anymore. So those, yeah, but certainly those are the sort of issues we need to actually hear direct from.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your deputation to us.
we are going to have item 6.1 to change the terms of reference and name of our disability action group first up. So you're welcome to stick around. But I will just quickly get full notes for our meeting before we get into it. I'm just noting an apology from Councillor Court, who will have an early departure from today's meeting to attend a meeting with Minister Chris Pink, Minister of Building and Construction, Small Businesses and Manufacturing, who is speaking with Business Bay of Islands this afternoon in the Bay of Islands, I believe, and also just noting an apology from Councillor Foy, who I think is no longer on. I can't see there. She is attending, I believe Minister Pink is at our NAFA Innovation and Enterprise Park this morning with a potential announcement regarding the whānau. So we could just get those noted. And along with that, I note that Councillor Rakina is on the road today of reception. And with that, we'll jump into our meeting proper, and we are going to go to item 6.1 on page 25. The recommendation is that Council approve renaming the Disability Action Group to the Accessibility Action Group, and B, adopt the updated terms of reference for the Accessibility Action Group. Moved by Councillor Haukia Parawira, seconded by Councillor Dawn Research. We'll go to Councillor Haukia Parawira.
Tēnā koutou ko tēnei kaupapa e David. Pai te kete a koe anō. I read your report and recommendations, and at first I thought, it might be empowering everybody to jump on the accessibility thing, but I see the things and having heard over the last 2 years people talking about the problems of wheelchair access on, just in Kirikiri alone and in some places in Kaikaia. I just want to tautoko your mahi and being at the forefront of this. And I was going to ask, so like the disability groups in Taitukera, will they change their name to accessibility too in the future, do you think?
I think from what I've heard, our Disability Action Group, everybody's agreed to change the name. They understand the reason why. To be honest, our group fluctuates a little bit, and at the moment there's not many out there, but we have fluctuated quite a bit over the years. But the current thinking is, this sort of covers the whole disability thing as well as a wider picture. When people hear the word accessibility, they may feel more comfortable in coming to join the group than the word disability all the time. Because sometimes, people see themselves not having a disability. That's an attitudinal type of thing. But the word accessibility means that a lot of people can see that for what it is.
Thank you. Kimmy.
So through the chair, just to add to that, so the likes of CCS, the Stroke Foundation, will still remain to deal with those people with disabilities and help support them through that. The accessibility of that, providing accessibility needs and requirements that are met. So it's still incorporating those with disabilities, but taking on board those that may be adults who have trouble accessing things as well. So.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Vesich. Deputy Mayor Shepherd.
Thank you. I'm going to support the name change and, of course, the terms of reference. But I just wanted to take the opportunity to remind SLT and Guy that would be lovely to see you guys at our Accessibility Action Group, Kui. There's a lot of issues that interface with those with accessibility issues, and sometimes it's really challenging for members to address some of those if the right ears aren't hearing the issues.
Thank you. With that, we will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions, and that is carried. Congratulations, David.
Can I add Thank you for inviting Māori Ward Councillor to be on your minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now going to go to item 5.1, confirmation of previous minutes, 5th of June and our 18th of June meetings. I will move. I'll get a seconder.
Second.
Amy Stratford. Pick up on anything?
I do just want to, any way we could, all have reference in the minutes to the decision that was brought into PX and the outcome of that. If it could be, if the minutes could be amended to reference that this decision came up later and this was the outcome. Just for, I mean, ideally we would have released that so it was open now, but it's included in the public facing minutes. I think it's helpful, but advice from governance would be appreciated.
Sorry, at the moment, I thought we had a note that said that there was a later discussion, but we can definitely amend the minutes to provide.
The note on page 17 says, while it was carried with majority in favour, there was not 75% in favour to meet the requirements of the Companies Act to make changes to the company's constitution. This portion of the decision was revisited with the public excluded.
What you're asking is for a note that actually stipulate the decision that was made. So that hasn't been included in the public minutes because there was no decision to confirm that decision to the public. But we can have that discussion in the public excluded minutes.
Anyone else pick up anything from our minutes? Then I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions? I'll abstain. Extension Councillor Research, that's carried. We'll now go to item 7.2 on page 378, which is our community board minutes, and that is noting the minutes of our Te Huku Community Board on the 10th of June, Bay of Islands Whangarua on the 11th of June, and Kaikohe on the 23rd of June. Thank you, Councillor Research, for moving, and Councillor McNally for seconding. Our first minutes up, but Te Huku Community Board, so the Chair, Gardner.
Oh, thank you, Mem. There's really wasn't anything, just take the minutes as read. We did help a number of groups, in particular the overall Big Game Fishing Club, who do some slippery care around the council toilets there, which is a big one for us.
Sorry, can we just, the side talking interferes with the sound.
Thank you. There's no more problems for me. Thank you very much.
Any questions from members on our Te Huku Community Board minutes?
Yeah, I have, Mayor Moko.
Thank you, Councillor Radich.
Adele, I noticed you people gave to the Te Huku Sports Hub $19,769 for safety improvements. We also from council gave $477,000, so it was just under $497,000 we have given to the Te Huku Sports Hub, literally to keep them afloat. The other thing I want to ask is that the town beautification also gave $57,000 to the footpath budget. Do you know how much money there is in that town beautification? Because that seems to be a lot of money.
Well, the $57,000 was the town beautification money that we transferred from the 2024-25 through to our footpath budget, so that eventually we will be able to do some footpaths in maybe 25-26.
All right, so the total sum was $57,000. There's no more.
Each ward gets it, Matty, the $57,000. So for the Te Huku Sports Hub, that was allocated to so that the sports hub could get the sign off of the code of compliance so that they could operate, because it needed to be done within 2 years. So that has helped the sports hub get the code of compliance.
Okay,
So
thanks.
that's your question.
Thank you for that, Chair Gardner. We'll now go to Chair Rudkin for our Kaikohe Hokianga Community Board minutes.
To an extraordinary meeting, putting some funding to a group instead otherwise.
Any questions on our Kaikohe Hokianga Community Board minutes? I appreciate the extraordinary meeting to consider that request because I ran out of money from the mayoral discretionary fund to be able to help that group. All right. We will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions, that's carried. We're now going to go to item 6.2 on page 35. That is road rename, Pātere Place in Kyle. Actually, it's not in Kyle, it's in Matu. So the recommendation is that we approve renaming a private road, Roto Place, that is currently addressed at Pātere Place, Kyle. Moved by Councillor Haukia Harawira, seconded by Deputy Mayor Shepherd. Councillor Haukia Harawira, any commentary?
No, just the information and the presentation sort of spells it out, and the information provided by, I think it's Nairi, I can't remember her last name, sorry, is quite comprehensive about the consultation that's been held amongst Ngāti Kura. And it's unfortunate that it's come this way, that it's renaming a name that was passed, but it is what it is. So I just want to take care the information that's been provided. And I've been out there to the opening of one of their buildings, and it's a really nice local effort. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Chair, Councillor Deputy Mesh. We'll go to Chair Ward.
Thank you, Member. But just this had been through the community board, and we had quite a discussion around this, and the reason that the name change came is because there was an adequate hard-earned consultation around it. So they went back to the table, so we're quite happy that they consulted or engaged effectively over the name change.
Thank you for that. We'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstentions, that's carried.
Ngāti Kura.
Aye.
Ngāti Kura. She's one of Dover's farmer, Epia, is Epia.
On our previous item for community board minutes, I did not give Bay of Islands Whangaroa Community Board Chair Ward the opportunity to speak 2 minutes. I apologise for that. But did you have anything that you wanted to pick up?
Just that we are progressing the Russell placemaking in the Strand, challenging, but we're getting there. And we had a number of flurry of funding applications, and we left several lie on the table due to the lack of funds and also additional information required. Just want to take the opportunity to note that with the hearing process at the moment for the proposed district plan, we're having a little bit of a challenging time in the Kaikohe community over the heritage, the overlay area, and the 179 affected properties who are sitting up and suddenly realising that something's going on over their properties. And although due process appears to have taken place with the generic notification of the district plan process over the last couple of years, they are very, very concerned and wanting to call a public meeting. So I just wanted to really bring that to your attention. we're talking about the area from on the waterfront in Paihia, Marsden Road, from the corner of School Road right through up the hill encompassing Totara Heights, which is a unit type of subdivision, and over to the tourism zone and Prince Road, the motels, backpackers, and up the hill into Semicircle. So it's quite a diverse, already compromised area. And there's a lot of feeling out there and discussion starting to grow in the community, and it's coming at the end of the process. And it concerns me because there's so many people that are unaware when we go out. And I know there is a cost impact on notifying 179. So it's actually over about 200 properties that take the heritage precinct, which is about 12 current, and I think 3 sites of significance in there. Plus we have about 8 lots of our own at council, mainly reserves that encompass in that area umbrella. So just wanted to draw that to attention that I think that this could blow up. So really just informing everybody that how great is the process when you start to impact on people's lives, and how many site visits, how many pieces of work does you know how diverse the area is when they're looking at putting. And I think too, there's the current constraints over those areas are being breached, particularly in the heritage zones with a limited services camping ground operating. And we also have 30 to 40 properties above that have a current resource consent with a number of notable tree covenants over it, which have already been breached as well. So unless we are going to monitor and enforce these conditions that we inflict on property owners, I think really to be looking at adding another overlay to an area like that is pretty serious. And I have sort of copied Guy into an email so he's aware of that. Just
question on that. This is the district plan follows a statutory process. Have we been in breach of that statutory process in any way, shape or form as a council?
not that
My concern is that if we have followed, but not gone above and beyond what we potentially could have done, but we have followed our process, it's out of our hands to a degree. And at this part of the game, I don't know, other than I think communication could be given to these property owners about what the process is, and an apology for the fact that we followed the process and I'm sorry we didn't include you more. But I don't know if much value would come from a public meeting other than just for people to vent their frustration that the process failed them, but the process has been followed legally.
It's about informing the property owners at this point, but there is
informing property owners can happen at an operational level.
It can, but there's also already legal challenges pending there because the previous hearings in case that set down for the Heritage Precinct A, which sits inside that overlay of B, was actually overturned and now it's been reinstated. So now those people have to go through that again. So there are issues.
I might just have a comment on that because I feel uncomfortable with.
It's not going to go away, put it that way, in a hurry.
At the same point in time, if there is a legal process that is happening, then we just have to let that play out in the first instance. But Roger, you could give some light to
So through the chair, Lynn has been provided an update on the process we followed through notification and then further submissions, which followed due process through and we sent out a full page advert in papers. We sent copies of notices by post along with brochures. Explain the submission process. Similar information was also emailed to anyone who had requested updates on the district plan process on those topics. Our consultation period was supposed to be for 20 days. We actually ran it from July through to October 2022. So we followed a due process here. But notwithstanding, we still need to obviously respond to people and hear them. But we're long deep into this process on the district plan. So outside of
what solutions can we offer our Paihia subdivision member who was facing the heat from our community in this space. What solutions can we offer or support can we offer her from an operational perspective?
Yeah, I've asked the team to look at that and what we can do. They've called for a public meeting. Obviously, I think we can support the chair through those public meetings and get to hear what people, what they have to say. Obviously, we've got hearings going on as well, so they can be made aware of those. They're public hearings as well. There's another method, another avenue to be heard. At the moment, I've got the team knocking together something that we can actually bring back, and I'll bring it to Guy's attention as well, and what we can do to at least raise awareness.
Thank you for that. If there are any questions to the Bay of Islands Whangaroa minutes that you would like noted in the meeting, then I'll offer an opportunity to those to ask them now. Otherwise, I apologise for missing your entire community out, girl. All right, let's move on then to item 6.3 on page 42. And that is the 2025 Local Government New Zealand Annual General Meeting remits. We have got a recommendation that we support remits A through that we support the following remits as the recommendation, but then the staff discussion and options actually doesn't support all of them. So, the recommendation and that going line. So we'll do it line by line then. I think that's what we used to do. Remit A is actually no longer required. That was myself and Mayor Taylor Alley's remit for security system payments. The government had moved that into the REM authority determination without needing a remit for it. So listen to the call, which is great. We'll go to remit. Actually, we've got remit B, improving joint management agreements, which is recommended by staff to support alcohol license fees to support and review of local government arrangements to achieve better service, better balance to support. That's E. But then we've got D, which is aligning public and school bus services for us to abstain, and F, rates capping AGM paper. Can I please ask who's the staff member for this? Actually, you're the staff member for us. Before I actually do move it, I note that for the aligning public and school bus services, the staff commentary is that because we do not operate public bus services, it's better for us to abstain. I would personally like us to support this, just so that it gives our regional councils the mana that they require, or a national voice to push for this. Is there any reason why we couldn't support it, even though we don't historically?
We did ask NRC for comment so that we were in alignment with them as a close partner, but I don't think we received a response, which is why, but more than happy for council to move.
It wouldn't implicate us in any way by supporting it. Then I'll change that. We did support that for the recommendation. The other one that we've got as an abstention is the rates capping AGM paper. It says abstain, further information needed to better understand the implication for ratepayers of the fund, given that affordability is a key issue. Any further commentary on that? I think it was just to support the direction that we'd have a special general meeting following the introduction of the legislation, and that overall local government New Zealand is concerned with rates capping and what that means for councils up and down the country. What is we call it core service and what is a nice to have, and how do you differentiate? I would be looking for us to support the direction of travel because it doesn't tie us to anything. Is any commentary with that? Then I'll change that to support. Yeah. And so with that, I'll move the recommendation as it is, that we support all of the remits bar A, because it's actually been taken off the order book. A is no longer required. Seconder, please.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Strickford, any commentary? Any commentary from members? I'll also just note that the papers have come out for the annual general meeting and just wanted to acknowledge Councillor Court, who has been recognised in the agenda as for long service to local government. Kia ora, Councillor Court. With that, I'll move the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions? That's carried. We'll go to item 6.4 now, which is on page 261. Final three council committee amendments. The recommendation is that council resolves to reduce the quorum for the following committees to 4, Te Koko, Te Kuaka and Te Huia, and to appoint, and I'm putting myself in there, to Te Koikoia as a replacement to Councillor McNally. I don't think we are going to require Te Koikoia for the rest of this term. I'm open to commentary when we get into things from members. Otherwise, I'll be looking to move it.
Can I second that?
I can see that.
Councillor Research.
Well, I think we need to do something. We need to have the committee certainly in the interim. My comments are, should we establishing a committee of councillors for CCOs? The reason for that is better flow of information, and potentially with the local level as well, we can get ourselves up and show something in that direction. The purpose of that meeting, the purpose of that committee would be to cut this role. So the appointments would be included in that. Chair probably should be on there, and councillors meeting monthly and bi-monthly. Some of the concerns that were raised before, and just in the previous meeting, about not having information from our CCO. We have then a fixed meeting time set. Because of those things will be handled, then a committee specifically set up to actually talk about. I think that will take a lot of effort.
Are you proposing an amendment for this thing?
If there's a appropriate place to do it, I would suggest that we must establish a CTO committee to oversee CTOs and ask that and give delegation to the E to provide scope of that one.
This month we have 2 meetings, so it could be that if we had a C, that a refreshed terms of reference for Te Koikoia, that Te Koikoia changed to become a council-controlled organisations committee, and that a terms of reference come to the next council meeting. So that way it could actually get up and running in August and be the link that we need. But that's going to take some money in the next 2 weeks to turn that around. There's other councils that have this you could loop on. I might go to you, Charlie, for commentary.
Mr. Chair, we discussed with the CD and understand what the actions are.
All right. Well, I'll as a mover, I'm in favour of including it, because if you can't do it, then you'll just tell us at the next meeting anyway.
So just for clarification, what is the wording of your amendment?
The amendment is C, that Te Koikoia be changed to become a standing committee for CCOs.
Okay,
And
all discussion related to the
to see
CCO,
all
rather
of the
than just the appointment.
Poherenga Tai Twinco Cycle Sale, Te Ahu Trust, what's the other one? The museum.
It's meeting
and final holdings.
We'll be meeting, this needs to include it, isn't it?
So it would take on the function, so I wanted to establish one today, but you bring in terms of reference for incorporating the appointments overview, as well as working with our councillors who are going to be on final holdings and that sort of. It's going to be a council connect for them, so that people are properly resourced.
And it creates a meeting slot for him as well. We could have later.
I think it's better to do it now than post-election and leave another council to kind of flounder. If we get it up and running even for just one meeting, at least it's got a skeleton to work from for a new council to potentially pick up.
The Chair, I might have a point of clarification. Is the intent for that committee to do the appointments of directors?
Yep. As well, yeah. That's why Te Koikoea is going to change. Its current functions are going to stay. Its functions are going to be expanded to include oversight of council-controlled organisation.
Are you happy for that to be the wording?
Okay, we'll sort it out. Suggest that appropriate wording. There's going to be some changes to other committees in terms of terms of reference.
Yeah.
We're going to have to adjust because we're going to take them.
And that can come back to us.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, through this amendment I'm supporting, I'm not looking to relitigate any standing resolutions of this council. This is adding on.
Yep.
Open to questions, comments, support, not for the new resolution recommendation.
3 years too late would be my comment.
Yes. I love good old foresight, because if I could be mayor at the start of the term again, I would definitely set up the governance structure different. Deputy Ms. Stratford. All right, I'll put the motion, but can we get it up to so everyone knows what they're voting for?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favour say aye. Those opposed or abstentions, that's carried. We are now going to go to a break for 10 minutes. 3:15.
Welcome back to our meeting. We are going into item 6.5, the review of appointment of our directors for council organisations policies. As the council revoke the appointment of elected business directors of council organisation policy and approve the amendments made to the appointments and remuneration of directors for council organisations policy as an attachment 3. I have in my run sheet there Briar is the author, but any standing order queries can be referred to Aisha and any legal queries can be referred to Kana. Before we actually move it, though, I'll open for questions so that you can ask more than one. Right. Any questions from members? Deputy Minister.
Thank you. First is kind of a procedural standing order question around the fact that this item was considered, and I mentioned this earlier in public, and then brought back to the table under PX. And just some clarity, so I was walking out the door when it happened, if possible, what was the new information that brought it back to the table?
So through the chair, the something that was brought back to the table was around
Okay, right. Cool. And then my next question is for probably Roger. Because the report didn't, it considered some risks. I'm concerned about the risk, and I found this in around the time when elected members came off final holdings back in the day. One of the reasons was because of council's regulatory role and the conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest that members of the community were stressing. There was no trust, and council was having a regulatory role, and we had members sitting on final holdings back in the day. So I don't feel this report addresses that, and it doesn't even mention the fact that we've got some commissioners, elected members sitting on the proposed district panel, proposed district plan hearings panel. So what are the risks around that, please?
There's always going to be a risk of potentially perceived conflict of interest. However, for the appointment of elected members to the board, it's a contained group, so it's just the elected members as they are here. There is, as the policy is written right now, the council can make that appointment, and it's written in section 12 of the new policy. However, we've just had a resolution to move to a change from the appointments committee to a wider committee for CCOs. We can potentially take that through an appointments committee to manage any perceived conflict of interest as a potential change. That could be added in here to the policy to address that. The policy itself does talk about conflict of interest for appointment of directors, not member directors. So for me, is the checks and balances for that would be here at the table right now, as per the current policy. As per the proposed policy, sorry.
And does the appointment of elected members that are currently sitting as commissioners on and have been on the proposed district plan hearings panel jeopardise the integrity of that?
We cleared that away as part of that process. So when we made when the appointments were made to the
final holdings are submitted on just about every single section of the proposed district plan.
Right. Yeah, I guess for me is the two separate things. You've got the hearings panel, which we worked through the process to ensure that we had elected members who could be appointed, and we worked through the conflicts of interest as part of that process. So I guess I'm just trying to follow your question on on how that relates to the appointment of directors to the CCO
Elected members.
as being appointees, managing conflict of interest for elected members as appointees.
Yeah, and managing that, the integrity of the proposed district plan hearings process. So we have the same elected members.
What I'm hearing is to those members to declare those conflicts as they see it, and up to the chief commissioner.
Well, the chair of the hearings panel manages that ensures that process, and I think what happened at the start of the hearings of that panel, there was a clear briefing that was given to the elected members that were on that, are on the panel. So the 4 elected members that are on managing that conflict of interest. It will be up to the chair of the
chair will need to be
CEO.
The changes since that initial briefing though, and a new briefing will have to be given in light of the resolution from our last meeting
for the hearings panel.
Yeah, commissioners that will have extra hats on.
Well, that's the question is if we ended up having an elected member who's sitting on both, ends up being on the board for Whanau Holdings and then also being on the panel. I think that would be a conflict of interest, and in my view, and I get a legal opinion on that one there, but my view would be that would be a conflict of interest, and therefore I don't think that we would we shouldn't be putting forward the situation that we'd have elected members sitting on a hearings panel and also on the board of a CCO who are submitting on that district plan. That would create a conflict of interest.
So the last time
a specific thing. Sorry, I'm just.
Yep.
It sounds scarier than it needs to, in my opinion, and that just like you declare conflicts as they arise.
Yep.
I don't see how. And I'm neither here nor there, right? But I don't see how a councillor who is a councillor, a commissioner, and then also potentially a board director on Whanau Holdings would then be conflicted for the entire district plan process or all of the hearings that they would be sitting in on. I would think it would only be ones that Whanau Holdings are giving. You can't wear your head on this side and then also be on that side at the same time. But what I'm hearing, so I'm trying to mitigate the concern that's been raised that yes, concern and risk does stand there, but not for the entire process of our district plan. This is a live meeting, and what I don't want people on the other end to hear is that our entire district plan is at risk because of a resolution of this council.
Yeah, I think you're correct. As in, it would be conflict of interest are on specific things, they aren't general things. So.
I've got Charlie. Sorry, I've still got Korpai, but I've got Charlie who can give staff advice in this space, and then I've got Chair Ward, and then I've got Councillor McNally.
Thank you, Mayor Moko. Just
I also just would like to welcome our Whanau Holdings Chair, Sarah Peterson, to the room. Kia ora.
Just to top up on Roger's commentary, conflicts, perceived or actual, are a fact in terms of governance decisions. They will arise, and it's having the tools and the processes to manage them effectively, which is going to be relevant to this discussion. Council has resolved to have the amended appointments committee being broadened in terms of its scope, and we can absolutely address the terms of reference to represent to council in terms of the mechanisms that we can put in place to safeguard both elected members and the board of Whanau Holdings to make sure that those conflicts are managed appropriately. So to your point, Mayor Moko, that is a particular point which would need to be managed, and it would need to be clear and transparent as to how that has progressed.
Yeah, I'll go back to Korpai.
Yeah, so it was really hard to find the past information around why elected members from FNDC were taken off in FNHL. One of the reports talked about governance issues and eroded community trust. What mechanisms will be put in place to ensure that the past governance issues, whatever they were, will not play out again, and that community trust won't be further eroded.
So by putting these safeguards in place, it enables a clear and transparent setting of expectations from council to final holdings, and making sure that communication is clear, irregular, and that the appropriate tools are in place and are effective. So things like the letter of expectations, the statement of intent, and the alignment of the strategic planning between council and final holdings are clearly communicated as part of that process. So the council's resolution to enhance the CCO function of the standing committee will have all of those, I expect it working through with the CE, have all of those provisions in place and be contemplated. And it might be proposed that an independent advisory member is on that committee as well to reinforce the trust and transparency of that.
But the policy that we're approving today with the amendments is removing what was in the original. It was about electing a member to a CCO board in exceptional circumstances. We're removing that and just making it standard practice to appoint elected members to CCO.
The policy does speak to, the proposed draft speaks to the purpose of an elected member. So there is
acknowledgement of that now, though. We have Chair Gardner who sits on our Te Ahu. I know Te Ahu isn't the same as Final Holdings, but it is a council-controlled organisation. In our reporting, it is.
No, that's like Te
I'll need to look into that one. Mayor Moko.
They're called CCOs in the annual plan we just adopted. Because I read every page.
I think the key point is...
That's my questions, thank you.
Can we just ask some questions at this stage?
Yes, I'm going to go to Chair Ward.
Just in relation to family holdings and resolutions for this ban, I guess from where I sit as board chair, family holdings have a lot of assets in our ward area and huge interest. And I would see this as not a perceived conflict, but a definite conflict too. I haven't seen what their submissions are, but I would imagine they're district-wide and an awful lot of the Bailon and Whangarei ward area. And I can't imagine why we would be getting involved in crossing over in that process of our company that is there for commercial gain and to make a profit for the ratepayer. I feel it's a very strong conflict and would be quite reputationally damaging to the council and the trust issue that Deputy Mayor raised. And I think too, if council is appointed to the board to be remunerated, that would also be seen as double dipping. And I think the whole thing is personally, from the community perspective, is really quite damaging.
We're going to go to Charlie. We believe that in Christchurch City, councillors that sit on these CCOs they have a policy in place where that remuneration goes to the Mayoral Relief Fund. I wouldn't mind some more money. Do we go to Charlie?
Thank you, Mayor Moko. Just on the point of remuneration, the draft policy does expressly state that the elected member directors would not be remunerated to avoid that direct financial conflict. There are other examples of CCOs which have elected member directors on the board, and the purpose of that needs to be clearly articulated and understood for the relevant knowledge, skills and expertise that are applied to that.
Thank you. A further question, can I just ask how many of those examples are city-centric?
Sorry. Examples of councillor directors.
City-centric.
For city councils, right?
Well, we've looked at Wellington and we've looked at Christchurch.
So you
as examples. Yeah.
citizen.
I have a feeling, this is just a feeling, but you know my brain and how I remember random stuff, but I'm pretty sure that Oro Whenua and maybe Rangi TK have got it there at that. It's actually more common in provincial and rural council areas because they're smaller, and so when you've got a sound governor at one seat, then they cross over into those areas as well. But of course it isn't a holdings company that are property developers, it's for their CCOs that are like community, social infrastructure type ones. But there is no factual evidence at hand to back that up. Sorry, Chairwood. This is just my photographic memory playing out in real time. Does that conclude your questions?
Thank you.
I'll go to Councillor McNally, then Councillor Research.
Yeah, just on the commissioner role, I would have thought there's greater risk of myself losing that role by not being re-elected. Or do you stay on?
You stay on. The resolution for commissioners was that you stay on.
Yeah, but that's what, so we've, and there's a tenure in the draft policy, we have a look at that around tenure about whether councillor is re-elected and what that is. And Carla drafted that, so she could talk to what that tenure looks like if a councillor is not re-elected. So are you okay with that?
But yes.
Has that already come across the table or is that still to come?
It's in the draft policy.
Okay.
Yeah, about tenure.
So you get the...
I know, I mean tenure for commissioners.
Okay.
For the district plan.
For the district plan, we've addressed that as part of the appointment of the commission. Yeah, so that's different. Yeah. That's right. No, correct. Yeah, yeah. He went through the training and became the making better decisions and became coach. That's just having to be elected members.
I'm going to go next door with Councillor McNally, then Councillor Research, then Councillor McNally.
Yeah, I just think part of what's generated this is that if we just look at the recent discussion we've had, we're still looking at confirming the skills matrix and inform the board composition, planning, succession and so forth. I've been working on that since May 2023, 2 years. It's the continual flippage that we certainly need. And then getting information out of we get call reports and so on. But just tracking current projects, progress, problems, depth to equity profile, cash flow, what's the requirement? I get the whole thing about commercial sensitivity, been involved in companies and working on behalf of companies for a long time. But there's still a requirement for the shareholder to understand what's going on. And that's what the purpose of these directors, the appointment of councillors going on there was about. Let's have a decent look. And
asking questions.
If that was all free flowing information right now, we wouldn't be having this debate right now.
Thank you. Just reiterating, this is the time for any questions you would like answered, and then you will have an opportunity to debate and then either support or not the recommendation on the table as well. We're going to go to Councillor Research, then Councillor Halkiad Harawira, then Councillor Radich, and then Councillor Kappa.
Yeah, so not the debate, but a question. And there was headroom before when there were 5 max, 3 min, there were 2 directors headroom. Now we've increased it to 8 re-elected members. And you see in the Constitution, you actually can't have, can't basically have elected members overpowering the independent ones. So now
they're not on 3, 5 is more than 3. Okay.
Excuse me, 5 is more than 3. Finish.
I'll let you ask your question. So remember that you can make statements in your area of debate.
So this is and all papers. So now, if 1 were to go, because now there's 8, so the call was 4. If 1 were to go, we're on the brink of 2 goes. We've actually got as many councillors on there as elected members. This question, is that not the correct analysis?
Considerations there.
Point of order. You're talking in the hypothetical and the hyperbole. 5 is more than 3. You're talking if 3 if 3 remove themselves. That's what you're saying, right? It's not an issue. We're going to reappoint 2, but trust me, we've already made the issue. I don't know why this ended. How did this end up back here, Mr. Mayor? The decision was made. The decision was made to have 3 members go into the final holdings board. Okay, and now we wasted time. We wasted time last time. We're wasting more time now. Just put it to vote. Just put it up to the vote. You've had enough time to debate this. Should everyone vote?
What was your point of order?
My point of order is that 5 is more than 3. Yeah, it is.
It's taking members.
No, it's not a taking members.
Thank you. And call some order. This is a contentious item. It's actually a little bit exciting to chair, but I am going to allow members their right to ask questions and then to debate the item when we get to the debate. This hasn't even been moved yet. This is a time for you to ask questions and have them answered without standing orders over the top of you for speaking order, so that you can get the answers you require to make a sound decision. So, Councillor Research, if you have no further questions or you restore it by an answer, I'm going to go to Councillor Halkiat Harawira to ask.
Kia ora. Okay, so I'm just looking at page 279 and the recently updated policy, and where it talks about remuneration, and it is to be a FNDC decision. And then also on the former policy on page 287, where it says that elected members will not be entitled to collect any board remuneration as yeah, so they won't be able to, as you say, within the double tip, but they would be reimbursed for travelling expenses. So the question is, will that be included in this? And is this the updated one? I hear it's updated. Will that be included in the updated version?
Yes, correct. So that version on page 287 is the updated version. So what you're reading there is actually in the updated policy.
Councillor Radich, questions, Councillor Radich?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Morkel. One of the main reasons why we elected these 3 members onto final holdings, and I just listened to Steve, was the lack of information coming through. That was one of the main reasons. Well, if you have a look at our monthly meetings we have as councillors, we do get a constructive report from final holdings. They're very open to what they do, and they have achieved some great things. So I couldn't see the reason why we want these 3 on that board. The information comes through, simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radich, and you can vote accordingly when we get to that point. Councillor Kapa.
Kia ora, thank you very much. My only question is that should we continue to appoint board members, can we please have terms of reference for the board members so that we understand their purpose onto the committee? Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, with that, I'm going to move the item. And get a seconder. Councillor Halkiat Harawira. Any opening commentary?
I think I've got a conflict on that.
Moving the motion. No conflicts.
Could you put it on the screen, please?
I'd like to speak against it.
There's no doubt it is conflict.
We'll go to Deputy Mayor Stratford.
I appreciate staff's answers today, but I don't have assurance that the proposed district plan process, particularly will be upheld if this appointment, if this policy is changed. And I'm not comfortable with the clarity around the risks and liability for this council if elected members are on there, so I'm not supporting the policy. But also, I don't believe the outcome that we're seeking will be addressed by this policy being revoked and a new one adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Research.
Yeah, just I think both Stephen have a conflict because we're discussing this. We've already made a decision on the. But, Mr. Chair, so just my comment, I'm not supporting this. The reason I'm not supporting this is on page 266 of your current agenda. If you have a look at it, you'll see the Auditor General has stated that appointment of elected members should be exception, not the law, as the current policy states. Also, 266, the Auditor General goes on and says the appointment should be open and transparent, subject to the same criteria as for independent directors, something we haven't done. And our independent chair, just on Tuesday, stated that all elected members appointed to CCOs must be open and transparent, skill-based, and he said he insists on this. And he's quoting, I suspect, from the Act, which is in there too. You see that on page 266, the Act that's mentioned there. And that's something we didn't do, and we don't really have time for this training to do it. Appointing 3 elected members, as I reached out before, appears to me, and I could say that, to have 3. Why not 1 as we had before, to have 3? Seems like council overreach. And I fear we won't pass. And that's ridiculous. By the Auditor General, and we won't be able to pass audits when that comes up. The arguments of information, we don't have information, we don't have that. I have requested the details of the risk as well. When that came up, I didn't have that. I still have that. So that's another reason why I'm convinced about that. I don't know the risk that, Farmers Holdings Board is actually facing and what it actually means for us. So I can't go ahead and do all that. And as I said, so maybe I'll just leave it at that, Mr. Chair. The recent CCO committee we set up handled all of this, and there's no argument being brought up that I can see that won't be able to work through that committee, and that to me is a far better way to go. So I'm not supporting the policy change. On the Bain report, that's the other one. The Bain report actually says strictly that too. It says you have a good insurance audit, and it says basically do not change it. He was asked to comment on the members being on that. I can't find front of it. And the comment that came back is do not change it. And the reason for it were good reasons. So that's why I can't support it.
Any other members? Councillor McNally stated in the previous item where I moved the amendment to change the terms of reference of our Te Koikoia. Te Koikoia is long-tailed cuckoo, and the reason why we named our committee Te Koikoia was that it lays its eggs in the nests of another bird. So then you're kind of like in stealth mode within that bird's whānau, right? So I think that Te Koikoia is still appropriate to be the patron of a council-controlled organisation committee so that we will still be in the know. The committee was an appointment. You appoint who you want there to be your champion as a director. Councillor McNally stated that the establishment of that committee is 3 years too late. I agree. Just like the establishment of our transport committee was a year and a half too late. But as the mayor, because I get to choose the governance structure and set up the committees, I did not get very good advice at the start of this term. The start of this term was in turmoil, and we've slowly built up what I think slowly added on and built a team that and processes that are still in a settling in period. And I think that's what we are for this as well. Dealing with things daily, this is another one that's on the list. And I am going to support the recommendation because I don't see as mayor, and to be fair, none of you are mayor, so you're not moko in the middle over every single kaupapa that comes across this table, from a blade of grass being too long, someone getting bitten or eaten by a dog, to a fire or a storm, or to personality clashes and disinformation and lack of information between us as the Far North District Council and our council-controlled trading organisation, Far North Holdings Limited. So I'm going to support this. I don't actually know if it's got the numbers to continue. And then guess what? None of you will be cleaning it up after. It will still be me. But I see that this is a part of the interim steps to get us onto solid ground, just like we slowly have been over the term of the 3 years of this council for cyclone recovery, for our bloody roads and the mess that was Northern Transportation Alliance, and then bringing it back in-house and then moving on with that, because it's an interim measure. The councillors that have been appointed but pending the changes to this policy are only there until December, right? Changing this policy doesn't mean they're there for 5 years, but I think that I do not see how we are going to be able to get beyond this unless we work through these teething issues. And one of the things for me is that whether or not you support something, if it passes by resolution, the numbers, then you just have to wear it. So I'm going to wear this one. This is just a tidy up, just like when we get a recommendation from our community boards, and whether or not we support it or not, you don't relitigate that. They've already recommended that to us. This is just the paperwork to tidy it up in my eyes. I get that there are frustrations on both sides and everything like that, but I feel like the change to this, along with our new Te Koikoia council-controlled organisations oversight committee, whatever its name is going to be, along with election, are going to see us in better orders. But this is the teething period that we need to get there at both the governance and an operation level. So I will be voting to support this, but obviously we'll be taking whatever next steps happen with the vote. That was the right of reply, so I will put the motion now, and I will ask for a vote by division so that I can count better. I'm in favour.
Can we vote on each recommendation, please, Mr. Mayor?
We can. So the recommendation A is what we're voting for now, please, by Dolly. That is that council revokes the appointment of elected members as directors of council organisations policy. I am in favour. Deputy Ms. Stratford is against. Now, sorry, can you scroll up, because I am going to read for the Public Record Council comment, and I know you don't do that during the vote, but I'm going to be able to do whatever I want, so scroll up. I just want to note that.
We can't scroll from there, but you can read it.
I'm just going to read, Councillor Court is against this, and she has said, please record that I won't be supporting this paper as it seeks to retrospectively address compliance matters and raise a significant concern in my mind around matters of conflict, public transparency and accountability that needed to be discussed and understood in more detail. Picking up matters such as indemnity insurance elected members may not be covered by the LGA when elected directors, and liabilities in the hierarchy of decision making in matters such as the LTP, AP strategy, etc. I also have concerns this seeks to extend tenure beyond the election, even if only by a few months, that questions mandate. So just wanted that to be recorded, and then we will vote against. Councillor Foy.
We're voting on, Mr. Mayor.
We're voting on revoking the appointment of elected members as directors of council. Councillor Foy, is she still
She's not online.
That's the same as removing what you're actually saying, right?
It's taking away the policy that doesn't allow councillors to sit as directors. Councillor Hauki Haruida. Councillor Kappa.
4.
Councillor Pliskovic.
4.
Councillor McPhee is abstained. Councillor Radic.
Against.
Councillor Akina.
4.
Councillor Vucic.
Yes.
Can I get that count up?
Four.
That has passed. We'll now go to B, approve the amendments, the appointment and remuneration of directors for council organisations policy. I'm in favour. Deputy Mayor Stratford. Councillor Court. Against. Councillor Foy is absent. Councillor Harawira. Councillor Kappa.
Against.
Councillor Piskovich.
Against.
Councillor McNally is abstaining. Councillor Radich.
Against.
Councillor Rakina.
Against.
Councillor Vucic.
We're trying to.
Putting the new policy in, just revoked the old one.
I don't think people do that.
So that has failed. We have
Right, a new one.
revoked our policy and don't have a new one. So staff, you're going to have fun with that.
Okay. We'll have a workshop on
What
that.
does that mean?
We'll have a workshop. I've got a lot of ideas.
Sorry, it's appropriate to talk now on this one. So effectively, you've revoked a policy which limited the appointment of elected members, but you haven't voted for an amended policy that allowed for the appointment of elected members.
Because we don't agree with that policy and we want to write a new one.
Okay.
So we want a workshop. The message is clear, Rog.
You don't know.
You guys just give me more and more. Honestly.
Well, we're not going to agree with an amendment of a policy that we really had minimum input into, Mr. Mayor. We'd like a workshop where the councillors can sit down and give some directive to the staff about what we wanted to say.
Thank you.
That doesn't need what's a substantive. All right. Then we are going to go to item 6.6, which is on page 288. The amended rating relief policy draft proposal for public consultation. The recommendation is that we adopt the proposal in attachment 2 to be released for public consultation. Approve the minimum period for making submissions on the period would be 4 weeks. Delegate authority to meet to decide on the date of all presentations. Now, you guys give me authority to decide on the dates, but then no one ever actually talks to the EA, to the office of the mayor on those dates. And then I'm changing plans where I'm supposed to be in all these other important meetings because, I don't know, the organisation just will plump oral submissions in and expect me to be there without checking if I'm even available. So if you've given me the authority, then make sure you check with the EA to the office of the mayor if I'm even bloody available to be at the thing that I'm supposed to authorise. And then D, authorise the CEO to make any minor drafting or presentation amendments. I will move if I can get it. Councillor Vucic. Councillor Vucic, any commentary? This has already gone through Te Kuaka. Anyone else? Councillor Harawira.
Kia ora, I tautoko in the policy reviews, and you just really want to congratulate the staff for working through this. I just kind of think there might be one missing, which doesn't have to be included now, but just for clarity about when people pass, when, for someone who's deceased, there's all kinds of categories, the deceased on Māori land, freehold land, general land, whatever. And so I just thought that I just had a local from Mahipara who said that, she wanted rates remission but couldn't do so because she couldn't afford a lawyer, even though her husband passed away over 8 years ago. She couldn't afford a lawyer to change the ownership on the place that they were living at. And I said, well, how are you going to deal with it? She said, I'll leave it to the children to sort out. Anyhow, so that was my only suggestion, that will hold that up, but just to thank the staff for doing all this great work. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed to abstentions, that's carried. We're now going to go to item 6.7, which is committee recommendations and resolutions. The recommendation is that council receive the minutes from our Te Koko committee meeting and our Te Kua committee meetings. I will move, seconded by Councillor Lucic. Any commentary? We'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed to abstentions, that's carried. We'll go to item 7.4, page 472, which is our joint committee meeting minutes. And that is that we note the following minutes: Civil Defence Emergency Management Group and our Regional Transport Committee. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stratford and seconded by Councillor Kleskevich. Deputy Mayor Stratford. Councillor Kleskevich. I just wanted to note again that, and I know that we are picking up on this GG trait, but I really appreciate when I read minutes of a meeting that I'm not in, having those secretarial notes is really helpful to gain context, and so would very much appreciate having that context to ours. We'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed to abstentions, that is carried. We're now going to go to Mayor and Councillor reports, which are on page 363 of the agenda. The recommendation is that Council note the report submitted by myself, Deputy Mayor Stratford, Councillor Babe Kappa, Councillor John Lucic, and we have in front of us to table Councillor Haukia Harawira's report. I will move. Your seconder, Deputy Mayor Stratford. Deputy Mayor Stratford.
Yes. In my list, I have been criticised previously for not highlighting a risk like Tūhitahi Rise. That road slipping caused a power trip to a house which started a fire. Rangiputa Road in Sakatara above, there's slip at Motukara which goes down to Rangiputa, which started when a footpath went in, and I followed it up yesterday with staff, but I just wanted to highlight that this is another road that could have enormous consequences for councils in where cost risk and risk to property. Roger, why are you laughing? Risk to property and life. If that road slips down and somebody's walking, or rocks come down and someone's walking or driving, and if the whole road collapses, then, you know, how are people going to get up to Motukara Road? So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, because I've been criticised for not highlighting a risk previously when it was in my members' report for years. Tūhitahi. That's all.
Name and shame. Who did that to you? No. All right, we'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed to abstentions.
Just saying.
Tēnā koe.
Not hard to keep people.
You can include yourself in that one. We'll go to item 7.3, update on regional deals, which is on page 393. The recommendation is that council form a working group to advance Te Tai Tokerau economic priorities and relationships through regional deals. Moved by Councillor Lucic, seconded by Councillor Kleskevich. Roger, would you like to add any commentary to?
Yes, through the chair. You've got your report in front of you. There was an announcement for the government on a decision on the regional deals. Unfortunately, Northland wasn't included. The decision was made to enter into negotiation for a regional deal with Queenstown Lakes, Central Otago, Western Bay and Plenty, which includes Tauranga and Auckland. So unfortunately we missed out. So the working group that was put together, we just exchanged a few emails yesterday, just acknowledging the work that went into pulling that document together, and the work that was done at the Joint Regional Economic Development Committee to put forward that document. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go out. But just why I voted for it is that really there is potentially another tranche. I think Councillor Kliskovich could agree with that. It's while 3 have been done, the following general election next year, there could be other options there. So any work that's been done, I think we can still do
no work lost.
No work lost. And I do think that we have to continue anyway in some manner. And no doubt he's been looked at. So I still support that being there.
Councillor Kliskovich.
I thought Link was leading us anyway.
They are, Mr. Chair McNally, and they're only doing that because they were told to, because we wanted Northern Link to work with the other councils. Basically, Northern Link ended up in a situation where they're putting together the deals, working closely with Crown and MB, but I didn't want them to just the chair, or the chair CEO of Northern Link and a few others to hold hostage the project. So that's why we made the amendment to the motion, which enabled Guy Holroyd and the other CEs from the other councils to be a part of it, to which our CEO for Northern Link asked me, how do I engage? And I just looked at him and had a nice chat with his chairperson afterwards to tell him that he should never ask that question again, and if he needs to know how to engage with Māori, he shouldn't be in the job.
Yeah, just quickly, we ended up with this resolution because following Te Kuaka Committee not supporting the regional deals, their resolution was, part of the resolution was to work with iwi and hapu. And we realized, had an update at Te Kuaka that wasn't happening yet. So this resolution, I think, should still continue. We need to be poised and we need to be, be aware of what iwi and hapu are wanting to achieve and make sure that we're all on the same page and working together, despite what our neighbour councils are doing.
Good. Councillor Booster, trying to reply? No. We'll put the motion on. Oh, sorry, Councillor Kapua.
Kia ora, thank you. I suppose my whakaaro is around how do we progress this and who progresses it for our behalf, and where are the opportunities to feed into this deal from a hapu iwi perspective? Is it through Te Kuaka? Is it through deputation? Where do we go from here so that we can get some clear guideline from an iwi hapu perspective on being part of a plan or a deal? Who does this?
Recently, I attended Matu Bay, Te Kaua Tānu Hui. That consists of all the chairs and CEs from the Taitokero. Yeah. And the wero was to them that there's going to be a number of projects, which is why I shared with our CEO of Northern Link to reach out to them so that they could be engaged, so they weren't just a mere afterthought. But I also said that they need to coordinate themselves in a way where they're not being picked off for certain projects and they've got one voice, and they've got one upoko. They can deliver the kōrero back to them so that they're all informed and we don't find ourselves in a situation where we're just fighting over the same puta, the same pie. So they're all well aware of that. This was only last month, and Paul Linton and Huhana Duncan will be coordinating with our iwi chairs and CEs. Kia ora.
So as a supplementary question, the projects that are most favourable, would those be projects that encompass the whole of Taitokero and not necessarily silo projects?
Well, there's only really one project at the moment, which is the energy bridge. The other projects, which is why I alluded to them, that they need to be more coordinated. Otherwise, you'll find that you'll have a situation which we've already got now, where everyone's scrapping for the same housing money.
Yeah.
In order for us to be able to deliver healthy homes here in the north, there's no real point in Joe Bodie doing 16, Te Raro doing 40, Pauahi doing X amount, because you end up turning the amount of money just into confetti, and the only people that really benefit are the consultants who give you absolute rubbish advice and wander off with 10% of the overall funds. So I said to them, let's have a coordinated approach from there. We organise a meeting with the ministers so that we don't have an event like Pauahi where they got $50 million and they've been able to deliver, but it hasn't been enough to scratch the surface and achieve what we actually need in the north. Just one example.
I'll just note too that the scope of the projects across the Rohe can be within each of the pillars on pages 425, 428, 431, 432, 434, which shows their breadth. Councillor Research, you did me.
Yeah, I just agree with the other Johnson. Twiskowicz summed it up very well. There's plenty that can be done, and it needs to be built up quickly.
Thank you. With that, we'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstentions? That's carried. We're now going to go to item 7.5, Council Open Resolutions Update. The recommendation is that Council receives Resolutions Update July 2025. I also believe part of that is we've been given an updated one.
Your tables, there is an updated version of the open resolution. Not a complete update, just for infrastructure sections.
Thank you. I will move, if I could get a seconder. Deputy Mayor Stratford. Deputy Mayor Stratford.
Oh, actually, it would be really helpful if it's divided into divisions all the time, because it's really long, the whole report. It's so hard to find the ones that you're looking to follow up on. Just feedback, I don't know if it's possible to do that. I wanted to check with infrastructure on item, it's on page 3. Starts on your page 3, setting a speed limit, temporary and permanent Russell catchment. And we were expecting a report to this meeting following the workshop in May. And now it's, being prepared by consultants due to changes in the delivery of transport services. And I understand that the report has possible unbudgeted expense attached to it. What is the potential of us actually making a decision on that report this triennium?
Through
the Russell speed changes.
I did receive that email a couple of days ago, Deputy Mayor Stratford. We have a staff member away today, so I don't have an update as of today, but I can find out exactly the time frame on a better time frame on that, possibly tomorrow when they return, if not early next week.
And democracy services.
There are workshop opportunities, but I understand staff are looking to prepare it.
Is it a significant item though that we're not going to be able to make a decision on this term?
Council can make significant decisions in the pre-election period. I'm not sure where that advice came from.
Okay.
In the chair, Councillor Cole.
No, it also came via.
It has come up in the past.
Clarification.
And I understand was sent to mayor and councillors to advise that you can continue to make decisions through the pre-election period. It's business as usual.
The government requires us to make a local water done well decision, which is incredibly significant. So
Okay, so that one should be coming to the next meeting, I hope.
It must. Else? All right, we'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstentions. SLT's had a collective sigh of relief. I'm now gonna resolve to exclude the public for the following items: 8.1 previous PX meeting minutes, 8.2 community PX minutes, 8.3 committee recommendation and resolutions, 8.4 council PX open resolutions, 8.5 confirmation of that's it. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed, that's carried, and we'll get our live stream pause. Council meeting.
We actually only had paperwork, but items of minutes and things that will stay in public exclusion in the public exclusion, but a decision that was made at our previous public excluded meeting will be appointment of councillors to final holdings. Changing the constitution of the parliament. That will be made available on these minutes. Otherwise, I will close us off with karakia. Ko te tapu o ngā kōrero, ka erikia ki ngā pātua tō tātou whare ki ngā koko mahara haumi e hui e. Ai, kia ora.
Kia ora.